AI agents are already reshaping how businesses think, operate, and grow. Join us today on Strategy Talks, where we dive deep with Kenneth Corrêa, author of Cognitive Organizations and head of strategy at 80/20 Marketing, to explore how agent orchestration is redefining the future of work leadership and scale. If you're still focused on tools, you're already behind. And this is the Strategy Talks episode you don't want to miss.
Let's strategize together. Let's hear it from an expert. Join the conversation, it's informative and free. You and me, let's talk some strategy. Now here's your host, Morin-van.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Strategy Talks. I am so excited to be here today. Another Tuesday morning, another episode of Strategy Talks. If you're watching us live on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, I want to welcome you. If you're listening to Strategy Talks as a podcast, I want to make sure that you know that we know that you are here and we appreciate your time spent with us today. Now, before I bring onto stage my guest today, I want to just say the timing of this is amazing. This guest had been invited. We had to reschedule, and it kind of coincides with ChatGPT bringing out agents, right? And so we're going to talk about AI agent strategies today. So without much further ado, I think that connection actually is amazing. I'm going to bring onto the stage my new friend, Kenneth. Kenneth, how are you today?
Hi there, Doreen. I'm amazing on my side. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm pretty sure we're going to get into all the details, the important vision and strategy of AI agents. So very happy, glad to be here.
Yes, I am very excited that you're here and especially dive deep into AI agents. I think that last sentence in the intro, we've been talking about tools. You are way beyond using AI as tools. You just in the green room showed me your company, like it's a big group of people sitting there. And I think I love that. I love that visual, especially because people are so worried about what's going to happen when AI agents that are here are going to take over. So let's get started with this question. In your writing, you described the 3-layered AI agent system, right? Research, synthesis, execution, that mirrors how human knowledge workers operate. Definitely. So what are the real world organizational roles that are most vulnerable to this kind of agent orchestration, and which ones are most likely to evolve instead of vanish? Because we know as marketers, we feel pretty vulnerable right now.
Definitely. And we should, right? Because we're seeing these tools get more and more powerful. We're hearing about these AI agents everywhere. I just came back from San Francisco, and all the signage in the street was all about agents and agents doing all the work. And whatever you look at social media, whatever article you read on the news, everybody's talking about the idea of autonomous systems and a network of AI agents and all that. So let me start by saying that as a marketer, the first time I heard of generative AI, this is maybe a year before ChatGPT was out. So there were already some generative AI tools out. I had it hit me like this is going to be very important. And again, when we say important, I'm trying to say that this will impact how we do our business, how we hire people, how we organize their work and their production. My company is a 95 people company. We work with the largest companies operating since from Rio Grande in Mexico down to the bottom of Argentina. That's where my clients are located at. And then I'm seeing a tool that can write good text, create better images, now generate video and music. So this is pretty much what we do, right? When I was researching it, I went to Harvard Business School, and then I met this framework that's called the WINS framework. WINS meaning words, images, numbers, and sounds. So if by any chance your company, for the listeners here, works with words, images, numbers, and sounds, that's actually 100% of what we do at 80/20 Marketing. You have a set or a suite of tools that can give you like a 20 to 40% productivity boost. So now, back to your question. So which are the positions that are more vulnerable? All the positions that all you do is fill in forms or read data on your screen, or writing in the sense that you're creating web posts, you're writing articles, journals, or weblogs, scripts if you're recording video or audio. So all of these positions are positions that are already being impacted by those tools. Not in the sense that those professionals will be replaced. I'll tell you about my company. In the past 2 years and a half, we've been working with generative AI. We have not let people go because of generative AI. That's not what happened. But all these positions are absolutely different from what they were before the Gen AI revolution. Because now, for example, the person that writes a blog post, before it starts writing, the research process is all done with the help of deep research tools.
Yes.
From either Grok or Perplexity or Gemini or even ChatGPT. Or the people who create the art, the visual art, the designs, before they send it to the client for approval, we have a twin of the client on ChatGPT as an assistant. So we will upload that art, and now it's going to check for grammar mistakes. It will check for the art direction, in the sense that we have colors, we have rules from where we can put the logos. So all of this is done before it's even out to the client. So this kind of processes have been changing a lot how most of these positions work.
I love that. So I have another question, but I want to go back to twin of the client. I've heard people do this before, and I have done this myself. So can you explain that for somebody who's watching? Maybe they're a marketer, maybe they're a business owner, and they don't have this set up yet. How do you create a twin of a client in your AI so that you can upload things and ask that and look for that approval? So by the time you send it to a client, you're probably 95% sure that they're going to love what you've created. How do you do that?
So we are 2 years and a half into the generative AI revolution. So if you speak to anyone working with AI before that, that's what I would call the real AI experts. They will probably teach you, give you a lecture, 30 minutes long, explaining all about models and data sets and training, or even fine tuning, which is like a specific term. I will not tell you anything about it. If you have ChatGPT, you can use GPTs with an S at the end of the plural. If you have Gemini, you can use Gem, the first 3 letters, Gem. So those are 2 functions for these tools, where you can create a specific assistant that is not going to answer everything about everything for you, but you will provide directions, instructions. Those could either be written as a prompt, or files can be provided, PDF files, Word files, PowerPoint files, as directions for this agent, for this assistant. And now you're going to instruct either the GPT or the Gem and say, you will work as an auditor. You will receive a text or images or videos created for this company. You have to be sure that this file that was provided is following 100% of the guidelines. If any of them are out, you have to point it out and to appoint what kind of mistake was made, and even make suggestions of how could this be changed so it gets into the auditing, so it fits the checklist. So now we've got a tool that not only audits, but also recommends change on top of that. Because now, Doreen, the thing is, those tools are not only reading text, they can really look at images. They can actually watch the video, that meaning the audio and images together. So this is how you put it up. You can watch a 3-minute YouTube video on how to create a GPT or a gem. You get it out and already start using it.
Yes. And if you're curious, we do have an episode on Strategy Talks where somebody explains how to create an AI assistant, which is a GPT or a gem. And you can watch that. It's the episode with Mike Alton. I'll make sure to link to it because all of this gets us to the next part. So in your Medium essay, Kenneth, you describe riding in a Waymo robotaxi through San Francisco and noticing it passing by homeless encampments, a striking image of tech progress intersecting with social reality. That moment you've used in that essay that becomes a metaphor for you. We can build autonomous systems at scale and yet still be blind to the fundamental human issues. So let me ask, how can strategy leaders ensure that implementing AI agents and their networks doesn't just optimize process it, but also truly respects and responds to the complex human systems that it overlays? Because we are humans, and how do we mesh these things?
I get it. It's a very complex question in that sense. I was in Boston at the MIT last year when I was launching my book. And then I went to a meeting with two Nobel laureates, two economy Nobel laureates. I didn't know they were going to be indicated. They didn't either. So it was amazing to be able to speak to them and all that. And they wrote a book called Power and Progress. And they were discussing exactly the idea of the technological revolutions creating gaps between the richest and the poorer, the more knowledgeable and the less knowledgeable. So this gap is supposed to be widened in the next years. Because exactly the way the technology is going to be used by companies is probably going to give a lot of margin and profits. Is probably going to create efficiencies. But that means, of course, downsizing and letting people go. So I think a first part of your question has to be answered with the moral guidance. In my company, for example, I didn't want to let people go because of AI. Could I have done that? Possibly. There's a company, a big Swedish company called Klarna, that does the back office and production for other companies. And they went all in on AI because since they have this customer service assistance, they said, okay, this can be an AI. They just turned it back because they reversed a part of it. Because they realize that you're not going to get 100% of your processes AI automated. It doesn't matter what OpenAI or Google or Microsoft or other Anthropic, other LLM AI companies will tell you. It's still lagging behind. Humans still have capabilities, and I'm not focusing on this still right now, but they still have abilities that those AI cannot mimic. Not even close. So if you use those tools for research, that's amazing. So a part of the job of a digital planner, for example, is happening a lot faster. But it's not about letting the planner go. It's about getting him to create more projects during his work time. So that's how I framed at my company, the way that I was going to get that AI could really accelerate or augment or improve and get down to teaching my employees how to do it. So I think this is the first half of that question. You have to consider the moral side of we're still an organization, we're still a company, a group of people trying to make it to a destination, to get to a point at the end. The second part of it is the technical part behind it. Because again, whenever I started running some orchestrated agents working together, I had this dream that it could be 100% autonomous. But once I kickstarted it, it never works. I could never get a network to work 100% autonomously. Every time that I put a human being as a part of the processes, or how they call it, a human in the loop, the quality that we deliver go way higher. So even if you're not connected to the moral side of it and you're just looking for efficiency, still humans as a part of this process make a lot of difference. And I'm being pragmatic here in that sense for that part of it. So the idea of having humans in the loop, and you have to have humans as early in the process as you can. Okay. Because if you only use humans for auditing, like let's say I do everything, I'll just check before I send it. It's still, you're losing the best part. So having a human being, a person, a creative person, for guiding, for making judgment calls, deciding on wherever you meet, like this places where you have to go either left or right, a human being is still doing that a lot best than any AI system I've run into.
I love that. That gives me a little bit of hope. It gives hopefully the listeners and the watchers a little bit of hope. Do you think that is going to change, that it's going to be less and less input from humans? Or do you think that there will always be, especially at the beginning, if we're talking about creatives and marketing, there'll always be a human involved at the beginning and at the end, that there'll always be a need for that? Or will there come a time that all of that will become automated?
The way I like to frame it is, I will use the Waymo cars again as an example. So I'm in San Francisco, need to get a ride. I can call an Uber. Uber is very expensive in San Francisco because of all the labor costs and all that. It's a lot more expensive than on the East Coast. And then I can call a Waymo. Now, the Waymo is usually 20% less expensive than the Uber. So again, being pragmatic, you're going to go for the cheapest option. But let's put it like this. Do you really think we, these human beings generated for 9 months, have to be raising in a family for, I don't know, 15, 16, 25 years before we are out in the market with all the possibilities of imagination, creativity, and storytelling? Do you really think we should be driving cars? I'll go a little bit more extreme. There's mining operations in Brazil. So we need miners to go into this very dangerous space with toxic gases, like under layers and layers and layers of earth. Sometimes there are accidents. You remember the Chilean that got stuck?
Yep.
Do you really think that, again, us as human beings should be spending our times inside these mines? So the way I like to look at it is, of course, AI is already bringing a lot of change. There will be job displacement. So that's the not good news part of the story. But if we get AI to do all this repetitive, mechanical, non-thinking tasks, I don't know, checking numbers on a spreadsheet, really? That's what this thing inside our heads was created for, checking numbers on a spreadsheet. So I really think that AI is supposed to get all of these tasks. Those are going to be AI driven and AI decided. But now, that's regarding these mechanical tasks. Every time that you have a more complex job to be done, you have a project to create, you're innovating. We work here with public relations, so you're trying to influence the public opinion on topic. I'm pretty sure that humans are gonna have the most important part of that job done. You know, maybe sending the emails, that can be AI and no problem. But thinking the narrative, the argumenting, the writing, still human beings are going for a long time.
Good. That makes me feel better. It's interesting to talk to different people. This is one of my jobs on Strategy Talks, is to interview people with different views of AI, right? And they're in different parts of the journey. And I love how you're implementing it and where you are and where your team is. And it seems like you are definitely on a path that's ahead of where other people are that I talk to, especially small business owners in the US. So I have a follow-up question for that. So a lot of the AI centers around tools, right? But you focus on roles and organizational design. What's an often overlooked internal friction point that companies, whether they're big or small, face when transitioning to that agent-led workflow, because you've already done some of that, right? So you already have some of those agents at work, even though there's, all your humans are still working with you. Where is that friction point, and how can a business even get started? Like, do you want to answer what was your first agent that you deployed? Like, I'd love to know. Like, let's get into the weeds of things.
Let's talk about it. Every time we talk about agents or automation, usually people think of the menial tasks, like the very operational tasks. But my first agent network was actually a board of directors, because I always wish I had some people on the board, on my board of directors, that either I couldn't pay for, or they are already deceased. So there's no way I could have them as my board members. But now if I have articles, publications, books that these folks written, fed as different agents, so every agent is specialized, but I get them all on a network. Now, when I have to talk to my marketing board, to my marketing commission on the board, I can call Philip Kotler, Gary Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin. Those guys are a part of my board. I mean, of course, a twin of them with all the free license publications that I have online. So I train these agents to behave and to reply as if they were this marketing specialist. I did the same thing to sales, same thing to strategy, same thing to operation. So my first network that was really in use, I used together with my partners at the company. We are 4 partners here, to get feedback on our strategic plan. So we had this strategic plan for 2024 written, and this agent network went there and gave us like really good feedback. Like the idea of a Brazilian publishing a book at the MIT was actually an idea by Seth Godin, AI Seth Godin in that sense, on my agent network. So this was the first example. But again, you ask about the friction, the attrition. The thing is, I love that idea. I'm the CTO, the technology guy between the partners. But it's changed. It's different. Of course, their reaction about that idea was not positive at first. They were very, very skeptic about first providing the data. Oh, we're going to upload our plan to that system. I said, oh, but it's running local on my computer. And they're like, I don't know. So this was a first reaction, cybersecurity and data privacy threat.
Yeah.
The second is, there is, of course, a response, a reply. So these agents are giving us text. In that sense, they're texting us back with ideas. But how are they going to be sure that this is actually a good idea? And again, remember the importance of the human in the loop. We're not blindly following those agents. We're actually trying to pick the best idea from the board. And that's actually what happens on real company boards, human beings in the board, right? You're not going to blindly follow everyone. You're going to select whatever you do best. So what I think is the main attrition is also always the human component, because we're talking about a change. The first time I went into the Waymo car, and I'm all for technology, I went like 30 seconds. I was holding to my seat and trying to figure out if that car was going to make the right turn at the right time, But after 30 seconds, it really showed its potential. And then I'm like, I'm off. I'm checking on my phone and I'm not even worrying about the right. It's the same thing in companies. So usually what we like to do, and what I love about the AI tools, is that it brings people close to the tech. So they become more familiar, not only familiar with the positive side of it, the augmenting the productivity boost, but also with the limitations. Because again, Doreen, it's an amazing tech, but it's still a piece of technology.
Right.
I know that when media is talking about technological revolution, they're always trying to put it as it's going to cure cancer, it's going to solve hunger and poverty, and we know it's not like that.
No.
There are a lot of complex questions will not be solved by simple solutions. So we know there's a long way before we solve those problems. But still, when we understand the limitations, that's when we make the best out of the tools. So the first tip that I give to managers, to executives, decision makers in companies regarding the use of this AI, because a lot of people, we're mid-25, a lot of people are still afraid of using those tools, is download ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini, it doesn't matter, any one of those tools. and start using it on your personal life. I mean, it's Sunday, maybe you're not feeling good about cooking, but you have to eat something before you go to bed. You can open up your refrigerator, your cabinet on the kitchen, take a photo, a couple of photos, and now you ask, hey, Copilot, what can I cook in less than 10 minutes with those ingredients that I have left? So now when you do this kind of exercise and you see the kind of reply you get back, now it understands that you're lazy and want to solve it quickly. It will really suggest something regarding the ingredients you have. You can start to understand how you can apply it in the company, how you can bring that into your business reality, right? So I think getting people close to this will reduce this friction a lot. And that's what I have been doing for my own company and for clients as well.
That's awesome. Is really great. I've been using Pinterest for years, but I've been doing in Pinterest, I say I have these ingredients and then come up with a recipe. But it's even easier now that there's AI where you can take a picture or a video and say, I have this. This is what I want to do. I mean, it just makes it faster, more efficient, and probably gets you more options. I love that. I love that idea of using it for personal gain. I've actually, this is a funny side story. I've used it to diagnose myself with a fracture in my leg. I thought I had, I'm a runner. I had pain and then no pain and then pain. And I was like, what the heck's going on? So I put all my symptoms in one of these AIs. And I said, this is my age. This is how much I run. This is what I've been doing. This is what I've been feeling. This is what happens when I rest. This is what happens when I, and it said, you probably have a small tear in your leg and blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, that is exactly what happened. So, that was a real life example of using AI, and everybody's laughing at me. I'm like, I saved a bunch of money, here we go. This is what happened, and it healed and it's fine. And, put myself in a boot, and there we go. So yeah, there are practical ways of using this. But, when we talk about that, you have a AI enhanced team, right? And there's going to be a time when we have a cognitive organization. Where is that tipping point between augmentation and transformation? Where, how do we, so I'm assuming you said you haven't fired anybody. You've got 95 people working for you. You're AI enhanced. Is there going to be a time that you foresee that your company will be mostly AIs? Will your workforce will be reduced, or do you feel like you're going to be able to take on more? Will we see smaller, say 5-10 years out? Will we see companies with smaller teams? What do you see for the future when we look out 5 years, 10 years?
Well, the way I like to be honest and realistic about it is, I think if your company, you do accountancy, or you work with lawyers, or you have consultants, I'm pretty sure those companies will get smaller, considering human workforce, as fast as they can, as they are able to do the transformation in their own business. Those are going to be smaller businesses. But in my own company, I will tell you that we've exhausted every possibility that we can imagine of how can we make processes faster. Because what we realized is, we have a team, for example, our company is 16 years old. Employee 001 still works with us. Employee 002 is a partner, has become a partner of the business with me. Employee 003 still works with us. So we have people working for us for a long time. And for this past 16 years, what we realized is whenever we had good talents with time on their hands, magic happens. So I'm not looking at any day of how I'm going to fire people. It's the exact opposite. How am I going to make the people that I have working with me create and produce more? And I will tell you that in the past 2 years, we've seen, as business owners, new money on the table. Because as a services company, Doreen, revenue always increases with the expenses, right? I have a new contract with a client. That's amazing. I need new employees. And that's always where my profits were. But now in the past 2 years, this has done something like this. because I've been growing 15% per year and still have 95 people on the team. So that's the way I like to look at my own company. And again, I think there's a moral part to it. It's how you look at how the revolution is working. But now, if you're in a market that's shrinking, competition is heavy on you, I think a lot of companies will have to make the decision of downsizing and reducing, because yes, computers are becoming more powerful. With AI and LLMs, is large language models, individuals are able to do a lot more than they were before. The first papers out with like really serious studies are pointing to something between 20 and 40% increase in productivity. So if you're working in a 5-week day, that's actually 20% is one day, 40% is 2 days out of the week. So that's how much you can increase and augment productivity.
That makes a lot of sense. Kenneth, I cannot believe it, but we're at time. So I know you have your book. So I want you to show everybody that is watching your book in case they want to read it. Hold it up. It's Cognitive Organizations, and it was published here in the US, correct?
Yes, it was published in September 24 at the MIT. And I wrote about the idea of companies combining human intelligence and artificial intelligence in the very same org chart. Okay. And there's a curiosity. I've written the book by the use of an intelligent agent network. So this book, I say it here, this book was created by an intelligent agent network with humans in the loop. Not only myself as a main editor, but I also had an extra editor, a proofreader, and we, together with other 34 agents, worked on creating this book, talking about how this revolution is really impacting the way we design our companies, the way we optimize our processes, the way we train our teams. Because again, Doreen, training has increased a lot for us. Yeah. No, we have an average of 40 hours of training per year per employee. This year, we're 55 hours in. Right. And it's still like we're still halfway through the year.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. So I'm going to make sure that in the show note, if you're listening to this show note, there's a connection to Kenneth so that you can connect with him on LinkedIn and where you can find the book. Kenneth, this has been a great conversation. I love it when guests show up with enthusiasm and they're ready to share everything they know about this topic. And you sure did. So I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. It's a little bit Brazil sauce that you know, right?
That's because what it is. That's what it is. Yeah. And I was just saying, this really has been a great international season in 2025. I've got lots of people from new countries that I hadn't interviewed before. And I love that you are here with me today. For those of you watching, thank you so much for staying all the way to the end. Thank you for those of you who listened to the podcast all the way to the end. Make sure to connect with Kenneth, and I'll be back next week with another episode of Strategy Talks. Bye, everybody.